Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of the Rad Hyrox podcast. We are joined by Naomi Heffernan. She is a Nike trainer, a Barry's instructor, a PT and online coach. She's done a bit of Hyrox MC work, which is super cool, and she's recently just done Birmingham, getting third in pro doubles with her friend, qualifying for world champs, and that's the most recent Hyrox race I think you've done.
Yeah,
So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Naomi.
thank you so much for having me. Buzzing.
Oh no, we're really excited. Really appreciate your time. And before we go too much into like your Hyrox races, we like to start off with a little bit of background for our listeners. So do you mind just kind of giving a bit of an insight into how you ended up crossing over to Hyrox? I know you're Barry's instructor. Where did it all start?
Yeah, well, I've always been into sport from a young age. I say sport, not team sports, more individual. So running, swimming, cycling. And actually that led me then into triathlon as a kid.
Okay.
I've always kind of had that fitness background, and that was very much driven by my parents both being athletes. So I definitely get my lungs from them.
Were they triathletes, were they?
So my mum was a duathlete and my
Oh,
dad
right.
cyclist.
Okay, yeah, fair.
So yeah, so I think definitely inspired by them and probably forced into it a bit when you're a kid. And then yeah, like kind of growing up, I stopped swimming. I used to swim 6 times a week up until the age of 18, but I kind of moved more into dance. I trained as an actor, so I danced, and I definitely have like I think actually dancing gave me really good foundations for then going into like even just Olympic lifting, having the mobility to squat properly has come from dance. So yeah, I've always moved my body, but then I kind of came back into um fitness really more for aesthetics in my 20s, and then started spinning and started teaching spinning, and then really found a love for fitness again, and then started weightlifting a bit more intentionally in the lockdown, really got into CrossFit. And then kind of off the back of lockdown, then Hyrox is all kind of coming out, and I'd done a lot of competing in turf games, CrossFit comps, stuff like that. And I was always really kind of I was a bit better at the more endurance stuff with CrossFit. Was never really that strong. I mean, I'd not been doing it for that long anyway, but I definitely had more of the engine in me. So the running and all of the lighter stations suited me, although I say that pro isn't that light when it comes to the sleds. But I thought, yeah, I'm gonna give this a go. This is a bit of me. And that's kind of how I then came to Hyrox, although I completely underestimated it when I first did it. And I hadn't really been running that much because I was focusing on strength training. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to run because it's going to take away from my deadlift. So I went into Hyrox really not that conditioned, and went straight in with individual women's pro and really suffered. I was really humbled. I think my time was an hour and 21. And after that, I said,
Decent.
I'm only going to do doubles now. I was like, well, I wanted to do doubles anyway. So then did it with my sister. And then after doing doubles and seeing how much more fun it was, I then only did doubles. And then I've only actually come back to doing an individual this season. Yeah. No, last season I did it at the end. I did Berlin and I only did open. I say only did open. I did open because I knew how hard pro was, and yeah, still didn't enjoy it as much, to be fair.
Yeah, it is nice. I think, well, we always say it's nice, the doubles, having someone else there with you, you can kind of bring each other up. And when one person's finding it a bit hard, I don't know, it's just nice to have that team aspect of it, I think.
Definitely. And I think it comes back to like why you do this kind of thing. And I love being with some, I love the community aspect, and I love getting the energy of somebody else, and especially because I do it with my sister, it's a really lovely opportunity for us to spend time together and actually do something together. And we're very similar athletes. I'd say she's stronger than I am. She's been doing CrossFit a lot longer than me. We kind of, with the running, sometimes I'm stronger, sometimes she is, but funnily enough, we both did that women's pro in 2021, and we got exactly the same time, but in different races. I think I'd done
That's a bit freaky.
I think there was like 10 seconds between us, which is,
that's crazy.
You look at our running splits, my splits were so much faster, but her stations were so much faster. So we just work really well as a pair together.
100%. And that's where like Hyrox is so funny, isn't it? Because it's like people run the race differently, but you can have a similar time at the end. But people like if you just look at running splits, someone can be a lot slower, but they're faster on the station. It's there's different types of athletes.
Yeah, and then when you put a pair together, it's again, you're working into different energy systems. So you could actually run faster as a pair anyway, because you might then let your partner finish the station, which is often what we do. I tend to finish the stations, give Emily that bit of a rest before then we then go off on our run together, so that then we're then pacing at the same amount. Whereas she does sometimes more of the station, more of the sled, pull and push for sure. That's probably, they're my worst stations. Brilliant at those ones. And the farmer's carry, she's a rigger, so she has really strong grip. She works with her hands like every day, so she's a strong gal. So the farmer's carry is just like nothing to her.
You're like, you can take that one. Off you go.
I'm there.
Does she even need chalk? But she doesn't even put chalk on.
She does put cool. But pairs with my sister is like, there's nothing better than that. I love it.
Yeah, I think it is such a good race when you do it together. And so what about when you like started? I know you said when you're doing CrossFit, I mean, a lot of CrossFitters don't like running at all. They only run for like 20 meters and they just love the strength, but you obviously enjoyed like more of the engine stuff. Did you find a real switch in your training to try and add in more running once you decided to take Hyrox, like competitions a bit more seriously, I guess?
I would definitely go out and do running. Like, I'd go and have my running sessions. I wouldn't go to the track. I'd go to the park and do intervals. So it might be like I'd have my watch, or I'd do it for time, but like 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off kind of thing. Or so then I'll do my longer runs as well. So before I said before, when I was on my strength training program, I didn't really run that much, because also when you start getting into strength training, when you haven't really done it, you start seeing your body changing, and you realize that actually you can get the body that you want. This is when I was very much like in it for aesthetic. Well, I say that, I noticed my body changing in the way that I saw that I was getting stronger. I was building muscle where I hadn't really had it before, and I thought running's going to take away from that. So I was like, nah, I don't need to run. I'm just going to do weightlifting. But now I'm much more in it for the performance, and yeah.
How have you found that? Like, just based on what you thought, and now you've obviously added the running in and you're focusing on performance, have you found that you have lost like the physique that you were starting to build? Or do you find that, everyone's obviously talking about this hybrid physique now where everyone can be strong and you can run and be fast, like you don't have to be one or the other? Have you found that it's compromised it, or?
I mean, for me, there's no compromise, because I don't really care anymore. Like, it's like, whatever. I've definitely, I'm definitely lighter than I was, which is better for running anyway, but not so good for pushing a sled. So definitely since I've stopped, and I actually stopped CrossFit because of an injury. I had a shoulder injury. I stopped this year. I stopped my membership mainly because of this injury. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stop doing heavy overhead and volume on my shoulders. And I'm just going to focus on Hyrox training. It's much lighter. I'm enjoying the competitions with it. I do miss the fact, like somebody asked me recently, oh, can you jump in and do this CrossFit comp? And I just thought, usually I would have easily been able to just jump into any competition. But now I wouldn't feel confident to be like, yeah, I'm going to just jump into this CrossFit comp and max out on a snatch.
Yeah. And you don't know what movements sometimes either, do you, that are going to be thrown into CrossFit?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I found that I was always having little niggles, like a wrist injury or a shoulder injury or something, like, whereas since like you can't really get injured with Hyrox. Of course you can overtrain and there is a lot of running, so you just have to make sure that you're being really intentional with it. But yeah, I found I've been way more injury free recently.
Yeah, I guess you don't have the like you said, the max lifts, like, you know, there's a lot of like load and pressure and strain that goes through the body in CrossFit, whereas because you know what you're training for and the weights are set, you can train and you can adapt a training program to like certain percentages to help you with your strength training.
And also I can't put all the blame on CrossFit, because actually if you follow a program, you're not going to get, you hopefully won't get injured. But I wasn't at the time, and I was dipping in and out of different classes. It was so I was doing one thing one day, another thing another day, then I was doing another class. So then you realize, oh, I've literally just been doing shoulders all week, because of course we're going to get injured. So yeah, that it was just a bit random. And also I would maybe take like 2 weeks off training and then go straight in, and my ego would get in the way, and
which I think most people can relate to, can't they? Like once you get in a group setting, you're like, everyone goes for it.
It's a good thing to like note though, for anyone that maybe isn't following like a structured program, if they're not paid for a coach, or they're not like, if you are going to classes or going to a gym or trying to do your own training, like it is worth trying to know what you are doing across the whole week, because it's a really good point that you could turn up and go to like 4 classes, but like they're not always like structured for one person to turn up to all 4 classes, so you might end up like overdoing it and like doing shoulders all week, or having a really heavy focus on high intensity instead of having a mix of like some high, some low. So like, it's a good point for people to take on board if they're like kind of doing their own training and just dipping in and out here and there.
Yeah, I mean, nothing beats being on a structured training program. Like, like that is it. If you can, and you have the discipline and the time to follow a program, that is the thing that is going to get you to where you want to be quicker. Of course, some people don't have time, or actually they enjoy the classes and they enjoy just being told what to do. But yeah, you're right. You need to be mindful, because you could do a track session one day, go like do a run club then, and then you jump into some Hyrox class at your gym, which is sprints again. And it's like, well, you've not recovered from a track session. Of course, now you've got a calf injury.
Yeah, 100%. And I think probably a lot of people do that. I mean, I know we've done that before, and we've been like, especially when we've been away, or you work away and you jump into like the local gym and you just join a class, and then the next day you're like, oh, I'll go for a run, and then you join another class, and all week you've done squats and running and you've not touched your upper body, and you're just absolutely fatigued.
Yeah, and more isn't always more. Like,
exactly.
You know, I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, must train, like get it in, like get the volume, get my heart rate up, constantly be smashing the body. And it's like, if you're going to train hard, you need to recover harder. That's
it's probably the hardest thing, isn't it? And getting anyone to do the recovery. I think when you're a driven person, I think you see it so many times, and we see it with all the athletes we're with, like everyone just wants to do more. Of if you don't feel like you've like sweated, you feel a bit like you haven't pushed yourself hard enough, which I think that's why like going back to Barry's, because you're a Barry's instructor, like that's the best thing about Barry's, isn't it? You come out and like I feel like you come out of a Barry's class and you feel like you've had a really good workout. You get those endorphins, you've sweated, you've like, yeah, danced the music. It's been,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
How
and
do
it
you,
is a great workout. It is. But we've also got a new well, I say it's not actually that new, but we've got a lift class now at
yeah,
Barry's.
I
You
knew,
don't
do you know what? I know this because one of the guys I work with, I think has come to one of your lift classes. He was
okay.
like, there's a great instructor. And I was like, oh yeah. And then I said, oh, I was talking to you today. And he goes, that's her. He was like, that's the great instructor I've been telling you about.
Oh.
I was like, oh, that's cool. So
Yeah, I love teaching in that room because it's a smaller room. It is a bit more, it is structured. So we have like each month we'll have a benchmark move. So each month we're coming back to that same movement. So you do get that progressive overload over the month. And it is really technique based. So for people that are maybe a little bit newer to lifting, especially, they'll come in and us as coaches, as instructors, get a little bit more time with them to give them some tips. So sometimes, and like you say, you've been in the other room, you know how like it is very intense and there's 60 of you in there. So it can be a little bit.
I think the first one I ever came to, I was like, what am I doing? I'm like on here, and then I'm off here, and then I'm on here, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm like, treadmill, stop, don't stop. Like, it was an overwhelming experience. But then I feel like once you've done it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've got it. I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, once you've done it once, then you're like, okay, I can understand the concept, I understand the format, and then like you say, it's like a whirlwind. You go in, you get it's like the music, high intensity, and you're just like, wow. And there is no better feeling. I love that feeling of a class setting where you've got everybody in the room, the vibes, the music, and you don't get that from being in the gym on your own.
No.
yeah, and I think that's the thing, but like a mix of it, like you said, is a good way to do it. For anyone that doesn't know what a Barry's class is, by the way, it's like, well, do you want to explain it, Naomi, since you're an instructor?
So the classic class is the red room class, and it's a dual concept. So you've got treadmills on one side of the room, and you've got the floor and the dumbbell work on the other side. So as an instructor, I'll be instructing the treadmills and the floor, and they'll change simultaneously. They'll be doing one thing, they'll be doing something else. Then we'll all sprint together. The energy's high, and then it'll be like lights up, everyone change over, and then we'll do the same thing. And then you might have like 2 or 3 changes throughout the class.
Yeah.
It's an hour. It's 50 to an hour, depending on what studio you go to. And each trainer curates their own playlist. Each trainer programs their own class. So every class you go to is going to be a different vibe depending on what trainer you've got, their energy, their music.
And you like put you make the lights dark and light, and then you guys are just like the best multitaskers in the world, because I don't know how you keep like 30 people running and changing levels and sprinting, and then everyone changing like exercises and then demoing them and then getting them going, and then it's like, wow.
Yeah. I definitely encourage everybody to come along to
I
Barry.
agree. I think it's something you have to do if you like fizz. Like, I feel like you need to experience a Barry's class.
Yeah, and also for those that, maybe don't want to train in the gym or do like that class setting, Barry's is a really good class to train for. It's running dumbbells. It's like,
and it's compromise running, isn't it?
It's running, then you're on the floor, then you were doing sprint. So it's actually, for people who are training for Hyrox, a really good addition. Maybe that's their conditioning day. And people also do double tread as well. So if it is the running that you are trying to focus a little bit more on for Hyrox, you can stay on the treadmill for the whole class and not come down to the floor. Some people do double floor, some do double tread.
Yeah, crazy.
Fun way to get your runs in.
Yeah, it's good. It's cool. I can see, like, I mean, you mentioned that you were training to be an actor. Like, do you still do that? Because I can see how that kind of like plays in. Like, you kind of, it's a performance, isn't it? A little bit.
Yeah. So a lot of actors go into that kind of class concept. I think because there is that performance side of it. So that's my background, but I stopped acting way before I was teaching at Barry's.
Okay. And did you stop because you got into the personal training and the fitness side of it, or?
Yeah, so I started teaching spin in between acting jobs because as an actor, you can't really take a job where you need to be able to have a job that you can just drop. So you have to be self-employed really. So the great thing about teaching spin was that I could do my classes, and then if I had an audition, somebody could cover my class. If I got a job, I'd give my classes to one of the other trainers for however long I was on the job for. And then the job would still be there for me when I got back. But then, yeah, just over the years, and this was like, I'm talking like 10 years ago when I first started teaching, I just started becoming more and more in love with fitness as a job. And I worked my way up. I was working at Boom Cycle. I was the master trainer there. So I then ended up training up some of the instructors, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And then Barry's was always for me like the pinnacle of like boutique fitness. And I looked up to the Barry's trainers because I used to go. So when I was teaching spin, I used to go to Barry's. That was my training. That was like, I didn't go to the gym. I just did classes. I was like a class warrior. And just loved the classes. We go to spin, we go to yoga, we go to Barry's, try them all. And yeah, then I heard that there was auditions for Barry's, so I went and auditioned. And obviously coming from the acting background, and I'd given up my acting way before then. I'd finished a job with a 6-month tour, and I just had a really horrible time. It was just really down. It's really not glamorous being on tour, like touring the UK in these like random cities, staying in digs. I didn't particularly enjoy the cast that I was with. Some really creepy guy just like bleh. And I said to my agent, this isn't making me happy anymore. Only put me up for stuff that's going to keep me in London, because I want to focus on building myself up in the fitness industry. So, and that career. Anyway, auditioned for Barry's, got it. And then that was over 5 years ago now. And yeah, I've kind of closed the door on the acting. I still have my agent and I go up for commercial stuff, but that's it. It's like a 1-2 day job. It doesn't take away from what I'm doing now. Yeah, so yeah, got the job at Barry's. I was like, oh my God, this is literally a dream come true. I was like, I cannot believe I am now one of these Barry's trainers I used to look up to. And then from then just thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to try and just be the best at what I do. And like, didn't just want to be a Barry's trainer. I was like, well, I'm going to make sure that I'm like fully qualified. Obviously got my personal training qualification and did more courses, and I've got my British weightlifting level 1 and level 2 qualification. I've got my pre and postnatal. Like, I think it's really important to constantly be educating yourself, and it's not just like, you're not just there with the mic and the jazz hands and everything else. It's like, can you actually look after your clients in a
especially
really,
if you're programming as well, like you said, the instructors program, like
a lot goes into it. It's not like you said, well, I mean, I think a lot goes into it anyway. The fact that you can like control the room and you know what's going on, and you're counting everyone through everything, and like it is a multitasking job as well. But like, yeah, you want to be the best that you can be for everyone else, like, and I think that shows in like how much success you've had. Like, it's very cool. It's cool to hear how people get places. Yeah.
And how did the Nike thing come about? Was that from the same thing? Because I know you're a Nike trainer as well. What does that entail? Do you have to go and do workshops and things like that?
So I've been with Nike. It will be 5 years in March. That'll be my 5-year anniversary. So it was shortly after I started at Barry's. And this is right before we went into lockdown as well. I yeah, I went to an event with Nike. They were doing like a new initiative, like bringing on ambassadors to represent, like kind of in the like trainer ambassadors, so kind of grassroots. They're there on the ground with the public, as opposed to like the athletes. So I think it was the first time they were doing this kind of thing. Like they already had their Nike trainers, but this ambassador thing was a new thing for sure. And so I went to an event that they invited a load of different trainers from the industry, from all over. And it was just like a whole day of workshops, training, like team building and stuff like that. And off the back of that, they came to a few of my classes and then asked me to come on board as a Nike trainer, which was slightly different to the ambassadors. It was a bit more responsibility, a bit more kind of part of the team. And yeah, I've kind of just grown with the company, with the brand ever since then.
That's so cool. Did you know they were in your classes, or did you were they like, oh, they weren't like secret funders?
No, they like, we'd been chatting about, like, yeah, it was definitely like a relationship building. They
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they came, and I wasn't sure what it was for, if it was just, just to come, I was like, oh, they come to everyone's classes, I don't know. But actually at the time, so I also was a yoga teacher back then. So I was doing my spin and my yoga, and I think also that was when Nike were kind of getting it more into the yoga aspect. So I think they liked that I was also a yoga instructor and brought that aspect to my training, or to my coaching, sorry. Yeah, but then when I I was still teaching a bit of yoga when I was at Barry's, and then Barry's just took over, and I just wanted to throw myself into one thing. I think you can do too many things, and it kind of dilutes what you do, even though I still, I did my 200 hours yoga teacher training, and I do bring in that to my coaching, and especially the mindset stuff, like the meditation and all of that side of it.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes you just don't want to be pulled too much, do you? Like you feel like you're trying to cover all aspects. You can feel like you're not doing your best at one if you're spread too far sometimes, I think.
I think as long as you're authentic to, and like you're staying, like, I don't know if I like the phrase staying in your lane, but if you are authentic to you and what you, if it's meaningful for you, and you're not just kind of like jumping on any kind of like, oh, I'm doing that because it's in vogue at the moment. Oh, well, I'll do that because it's like, just what are you passionate about? And I was really into the yoga, and then I started doing it, and then I got really into the Barry's, so then that took a back foot. So it kind of just naturally happened. Now it's like, Barry's, the functional side of training, like kind of like across the back with the Olympic lifting, and I went and did my British weightlifting courses. So then with my one-to-one clients, I can also train that with them, but I'm not teaching that in classes. So there's also so many things that I think us as coaches do, but if you're not advertising it on your Instagram, kind of pigeonholed a little bit. People don't actually think that you do. People probably don't know that I've got my 200 hours teacher training, and that I can coach Olympic lifting, because I'm not really posting it on Insta. So I'm just posting about Hyrox, so people just think, oh, she must just be doing Hyrox.
It all helps though, doesn't it? And it all feeds in, and the more knowledge you have, the more like you're a better trainer for any sort of like competition or area. Like it all
all goes together. The more you know, the more you can add stuff in, isn't it? It's like the yoga. Like everyone needs more mobility. Everyone needs to be more flexible. Like a lot of people put off like the yoga, the mobility, the Pilates, and I think probably anyone that is going for Hyrox or CrossFit or something, we're probably the people that do need to do more of that. So you are quite all-rounded if you do. I think it's probably not a bad thing to have both.
sure. 100%.
Yeah, totally. And so then how did you make the leap? We've talked about Hyrox and you've been an athlete. We'll go more into that now, about how you've like your journey in Hyrox, but how did you get across to be an MC and what was that experience like? Because I think there's probably a lot of people who never know what that's like to like
Yeah.
stand and cheer people on and be like the hype girl. And obviously you've got the background from, you know, the acting and the Barrys, the like hyping a crowd up and keeping people going. How did you find that experience?
Absolutely loved it because I'm on a mic every day with Barry's. So put me on a mic and I'm in my element. So I think it's like the perfect like transition. And like, you know, all like the Hyrox MCs, like the regular ones, that's kind of their background as well. They've been those type of people for their classes at some point, you know, or still are. And I think that's why it's like like not all coaches can be the hype person.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, you don't even have to be a coach to be a hype person either. But I think that's why, yeah, I got asked to do that because of my background in Barry's and yeah.
Did you find it, did they just give you a microphone and go like, okay, crack on, this is your shift? Or did they give you some like idea about what to say? Or like, how did you find it? What was the...
You have to call out every single person that comes across the finish line and congratulate them, which is also something that I really love about Hyrox, that you know that when you're crossing that line, your name is going to get called out and you've just got that recognition and acknowledgement that you've completed it. So yeah, that's about it. But then like it's like just vibe with the other MC. I think it was Faisal I think it was just Faisal and then Benny as well. He does some of the other like international ones. And yeah, and you got the DJ there and just be you. There wasn't like, make sure you do this and that. It was just like make sure you read the names and then just vibe.
That's so cool.
I did love it, but I also did compete that day. So I'd just done women's doubles. So my
God.
beyond. So I don't think I'll do that again. If they ask me to do it again, I will make sure that I've not competed that day.
Because it's like a workout in itself, surely. Like being that positive for so long.
Yeah, it's big energy. It's like when you're teaching a class, you're only doing it for an hour. And then you know, and you might teach 2-3 classes a day. And that is like, that's enough. But they're on your feet for 8 hours doing a Hyrox MC stint it's a lot. But the time goes so fast because you're just having fun.
And was it cool being on the other side of it, like with all the like that? Because obviously you've been and you've competed in it, but was it cool like seeing it from a different side?
Definitely, yeah. And also, like, you know how I was saying that being a Barry trainer was like a dream come true? This was also a dream come true. That was like,
so cool.
I want to do that. So like, I remember when I first, when I first did my first Hyrox and the MCs were on there and I was like, I want to do that one day.
And what was your first Hyrox, Amy? Where were you?
It was London 2021.
Was that in Olympia or Excel? Yeah. Oh, crazy. 2021.
Yeah, 2021. And then that same season, me and I can't remember what race it was, but we qualified for Vegas. And our first Worlds was Vegas. And we came 4th at the Worlds.
Amazing.
And then, we've done Manchester. And then I did Nice. Emily had to pull out last minute to Nice.
So
we qualified for everyone together. We've only done 2 together. The second one was an absolute shit show though. We ran an extra lap and I was not fit and it had a bit, that season was, a funny one.
Was that was a low, that was a low in the highs and lows of Hyrox.
So 21-22 season, that was like the first season going to Vegas. Then 22, 23 was an interesting one, but because second season, October. Yeah, so I remember the first race of that season, October, Birmingham. I don't think I'd trained for 2 months. I've not done
That's
anything.
gonna hurt.
Yeah, well, you say that. So basically my partner was in hospital at the time.
Oh gosh.
So he'd been in a coma, and he was in a hospital bed. And
Wow.
I've just been visiting him every day, and that's what my life was. And I'd obviously entered this Hyrox. I was an ambassador as well at the time, so like we get given a certain amount of races for free. So I'd entered that one, and I was like, Emily, we're going to do this Hyrox. Don't expect anything from me. Like, we're just going to go. We're going to have fun. We're just going to do it for Ben. Every single is going to be for him, and we're just going to think about him and just go. And we got there, and it was a really small, I don't know, it was quite small. Not many, it was still quite early on in the Hyrox, it was second season that I'd done. So it wasn't that busy. I think we had like an 8 a.m. start or something. So there wasn't many people on the track. And it was Faisal and Gus, and they knew my partner and at the time, and knew everything that was happening. And it was almost like everyone it was at the NEC, like everyone there was just cheering for us, because they were just pouring so much love into us. And like Gus and Faisal were running the laps with us.
Oh man.
And every station, people were there just like screaming and cheering for us on the mic, shouting Hef sisters. And we ended up winning it and crossing the line. Like it was like something was carrying me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like my mind was just it's so interesting how your body, when you can just like anchor yourself in something, like the pain that you're going through up here, like the physical pain is nothing.
Yeah, you used it, that you like channeled it,
yeah.
and
channeled that. Yeah.
For months it was probably all building up with nowhere to go, and then you were able to like put it into something and probably feel really, really grateful that you were actually able to do the race, knowing that like your partner at the time's not able to do something like that, whereas you can do it for the both of you and like channel it in that way.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a real high for me. That was probably, I'll always remember that race. And actually there's almost like an iconic photo of us like crossing the finish line that's been on a lot of the billboards for Hyrox. And I'm like, that's that race of like us crossing the finish line, just like so happy. I remember like,
that is crazy.
Crying at the end of the race. But funnily enough, so that was the high that season. Continued then not to train. Continued to not train, not because of what was going on for me. It wasn't priority. So then we came in and did the London one. Maybe it was like, I can't remember the date. That season. And that I got a stitch. We walked a lap. I was crying. I was like, I can't do this. My airways kept constricting. When you feel like you're going to cry and you can't take in any air. It was like that the whole way around. So that was a low. Was it. I went from there to being able to channel that energy and that like mindset to then being like, I can't do this. I'm broken.
And then how did you compete? You obviously competed in the world champs that year as well, and in that season. So how did you train after that? How did you turn it around, or how did you move on from that and think, oh, this is fine to keep going?
I was just jumping into random CrossFit classes. That was it.
Just to keep yourself accountable, so you don't have to think. You just turn up and someone trains you. And
I wasn't on a program. It was random CrossFit classes, because and also like at that time, like I was training at the Wick over in Hackney, and that I loved it there, the community. But again, I'd then be like, nah, I'm not training for 2 weeks, and then I'd come in, smash my body. And that Manchester one, that we lost our heads. We did an extra lap, went into the wrong station once, came out the entrance. It was again, when your head is somewhere else and your head's not right, then, and you can't be focused, that's when things go wrong. You have to be so focused.
It just shows what a big part mindset does play in it. Like, it's not just a physical race. Like, you do have to be in the right space, focused, like, and you have to have that strength to be able to push through the pain, don't you?
Yeah. I think, like, yeah, you do. If you're stressed, like, it also, you know, stress, like mental stress affects the body physically. And you don't really realize it. You know, if you're not sleeping well, you're not eating, you're stressed, you can't perform.
And also, like, physical activity is another stress on the body. The body just sees stress as stress. So if you've got personal stress, work stress, like physical stress, emotional stress, it all builds up, doesn't it? And it's got to release somewhere.
Yeah.
We had a good friend, a friend that we did, like, she's an ultra marathon runner. She's like incredible runner, runs like 4 kilometers, like pace for like 100K. And we were asking her like how she manages to like push through that pain, and she was just like, pain's a privilege. Like, I embrace the fact I can feel pain, because she's lost people who have never had the chance to do it. And I think that always stuck with us a little bit, didn't it? As like, you're lucky to be able to do it, and like the pain is like a privilege to have, even though it's painful and it's hard. Like, there's so many people that would be watching that are either injured or ill or can't do it, that would love to be able to put themselves in that situation and push their bodies. So,
and that is how my mindset as well, 100%. I look to the horizon when I'm running around. Like, I pick a spot in the distance, and I do just think about the pain that, like, so many, that's particular situation that happened back in August 2022 with he's now my ex, but I think about him, I think about his family, I think about the pain was endured, and I just think nothing is,
oh man,
no, I know, like, nothing compares. So I think it's true. And you, like, when you're helpless, like, I think that's the thing, like, when a lot of these things happen, or you lose someone, or like an accident, like, you're so helpless in that scenario. Like, you feel like the only thing, like, it keeps you going because you can do something. You're like, well, I can keep running, like, I can do that, like, I can get to the next point, and I've got the opportunity to do it and the chance to do it, and I'm able to do it. Like, whereas so many other people have that taken away from them. So, like, you've got to channel it, and it can keep you going, like, put it somewhere, for sure.
Mindset is a huge thing. And it, you know, like, and not everybody goes through a huge trauma in their life, or has like, and like something massive that they can act that, but you have something, and it doesn't mean it's like, oh, but if you haven't suffered in your life, you're not gonna be able to access that, because everybody's got their version of
100%.
to like just keep them going.
And I think one of the things you brought up in there is like the community aspect. I guess when you're having a really tough time, the community of the CrossFit gym, and obviously now there's a lot of Hyrox affiliated gyms, so people have found communities, and, you know, Gus and Faisal running with you on the laps and everyone cheering for you. It's the community aspect of Hyrox that's come through like hugely to support people on their journey, whether they're using it, you know, just to get fit, whether they are fit, whether they're going through a tough time at home and it's their escape. It's something for everyone to build towards and be part of. I think that, you know, no matter who you are or what you're going through.
I think Hyrox is, I mean, it's brilliant for the community aspects, and I think it's got so many people into fitness that maybe wouldn't have thought about, certainly thought about competing in something like this. And I think it gives people an alternative to maybe going down the pub.
Yeah. I mean, the generation that people aren't drinking as much now, are they? It's not such a big thing that people are going to the gym and people are going out for a run. There's more run clubs, isn't there? There's more gym sessions. There's more. Everyone seems to be going a bit. The new generation, it's kind of like the older generation went to the pub after work. This new generation now, everyone goes for a run or goes to Barry's.
Yeah, 100%. And if everyone,
cool.
and so many people have entered this year, is crazy. It's grown so much.
I know.
Oh my God. And it's like every man and his dog is doing Hyrox. It's because it means that they can all support each other and go together. And like colleagues maybe at work are all going, oh yeah, let's all train on our lunch break and go for a run instead of going for a pub, going for a pint on a Friday. Like
100%.
I think it's so positive. And it gives people the opportunity to be an athlete, the opportunity to compete at world championships, in their 70s as well. I think it's so amazing. It's like giving the everyday person that opportunity to maybe for some people who feel like they missed the boat when they were younger, maybe like when they were an athlete, at school or, at college, who are fit and they kind of do their own thing. And now it's like, actually, now this is my time now. I can come back to it. I can compete and train. And I think it's very different to sports like triathlon or marathon training or whatever, and the reason why I think it's different is that you can go to your run club, you can do a Barry's class, you can drop into a CrossFit class, you can do your circuit training, and you can still compete at Hyrox. You can do all the things that you were already doing. Yeah, maybe tweak it a little bit and maybe do a bit more running, whatever. But it's still just so varied that it means that it's just way more accessible you don't have to lug a bike around. You don't need to make sure you've got access to a swimming pool. You don't need to spend hours and hours running. You can just do a few Barry's classes and you can get through Hyrox.
Yeah, 100%. And then I think also for like probably females, like more specifically than males, it's brought in that strength element, and especially like ladies that are a bit older, they're starting to do weights for the first time and push sleds, and that's crazy. Like we spoke to the badass Gran, and she's like loving it. Like up until recently, maybe the recent like last 5 to 10 years, women would always stay away from weights. And like, they'd have their 2-kilogram dumbbells and that would be it because they think they get too big. Whereas now, like, you've got 60, 70-year-olds smashing these sleds on a Hyrox, and it's so awesome.
Yeah. So cool. And I think that's, going back to the performance aspect of people doing it because they want to maybe beat their time or even just get it. It's an accomplishment. It's not about, okay, I'm going to do some weightlifting because I'm going to sculpt my muscles. Like, whatever, that's the byproduct. But actually, I want to improve this time that, they're looking at their stats, they're looking at their friends' stats, they're like, oh, getting competitive with each other, or whatever it is. But it's giving people a focus that's performance driven. And I think that is so beautiful. That it's getting away from doing it for the aesthetics.
100%. I was going to say, what's next on the cards for you then? What's the next race in the diary?
Next race is London, women's pro, with my sister, so pairs.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm also doing Malaga. Nice. Then I'll probably do a couple of others.
Is Malaga solo or?
So I've actually,
Here we go.
I've entered women's pro on the Saturday, and then I've also got pairs mixed on the Sunday.
Ooh,
so nice. I thought, I thought this is going to be a challenge in a different way. I thought I would train to do that. I thought I've never done that before, and I know people do. So I thought that would be a good challenge. I'm still undecided. I think I I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. My sister actually said to me, oh, I'll buy your women's pro ticket off you. And then I thought, oh yeah, maybe that might be quite a relief. Because it's sold out, you know, so I thought that, you know, maybe I should take up 2 spaces. But that's the Malaga one. I'm doing mix on with my friend Dan Williams, who's the owner of Wit. And we did turf games engine back here like last summer, and we smashed it together. And we were like, after that, we were like, should we do a Hyrox together? So we entered the Malaga one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, super exciting. Nice to do it a little bit different as well, like still in a doubles but mixed doubles. So.
Yeah, I have done mixed doubles as well before in Bilbao with my friend Ray, and actually that was the fastest runs that we'd done. It's crazy how the fastest runs that I've actually done was with Anya. We were doing like 4:15, 4:20 splits. But then was with Ray, it was 4:30s, and I just remember being like, I am so right now, like but the time was still not even that fast. So I don't know, it was still slower than what me and Emily had done women's pro pairs with. And it's the same weight. It's the same weight. It doesn't make any sense. We like our fastest time was 1 hour and 2:45, me and Em.
That's
and
fast.
with pro weights. So it really, you can't compare race to race, because but this, you can't be like, oh yeah, but I did this time. It's like, nah, you can't.
No, yeah, you got to just take each one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, should we go on to that? We've got 8 questions that we usually finish on, if that's okay. Are we good for that, Faye?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you still got time if I run through these quickly, Naomi? Are you okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Perfect. So first one is, what shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
Oh, I wear the Zoom Flies, Nikes.
Oh, that's what I think we're going to wear next. We've got loads of favorite shoes.
Carbon plates. They're so good. I train in the Pegasus. I think it's good to not train in carbon plates. So
Agreed.
You really feel the effect when you're racing. So the new Pegasus 41s, they're really good. That's what I train in. Really good grip, still really good running shoe. And then the Zoom Flies. I have tried, like I've done a few a bit of training in my Vapor Flies, but I just find them a little bit too high. I thought, maybe I'll do a race in them, but they're just not as stable on some of the stations as the Zoom Flies have just got a bit more stability, but that you still get the benefit of the carbon plate, honestly. And they've just brought out the 6, so I'm likely going to race in those.
Don't tempt her. She'll be off buying another pair of shoes now.
I was actually going to buy a new pair of shoes in the next couple of weeks. I'm just going to make a note.
I could see the brain going like, oh, okay.
Happy by 6. It's there.
Latest greatest babes.
Okay, next one. Quickly move off that subject. Which is your favorite Hyrox venue that you've raced in?
Oh, I love Manchester. It's beautiful, absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I think that's our favorite.
And even though that when we did the Worlds, it was a bit of a mess because we ran that extra lap, I still just remember running around looking, and that you can really look into the horizon.
Big window, yeah.
And I always remember looking at the clock, looking out the window, and I remember saying to myself, I'm so lucky to be able to move my body, and I'm so lucky to be here. We are so freaking fortunate to be able to just run this race right now. I remember that thing and just looking into the clock.
It was a cool, but I do remember it being it was 3 1/4 laps or something, or 3 1/3. It was a really weird running distance,
and that's
I think
why
many people got confused.
That's Manchester, like it. Okay, next one is, which is your favorite Hyrox station?
Warballs.
Oh, okay, because it's last.
No, I'm just freakishly good at Warballs.
You've got good mechanics by the sounds of it, from what you said.
I find them not too bad, and I think it's a combination of that and the fact that the finish line is around the corner,
Yeah.
and you've got the MCs there.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the best station. It's at the end.
It's got the vibes.
And it's the vibes. I'm not too bad at them. Like, I can get through it. Saying that, doing them solo, different story. But when you do it as a pair, it's great. It's like 30 reps, bosh, 30 reps, bosh, 20, done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Balls.
Good one, because it's probably one of the quickest, and yeah, you've got the vibes and all your people there, and you cross the finish line.
Out.
Yeah, defo.
Worst station, sled push.
Yeah.
I'm just very.
Yeah,
I need to do more deadlifting now. I need to come back to my deadlifting, get better.
Sometimes you do just wonder as well, is it actually going to move today? Like, what's the carpet like? What's the venue like? Like, oh god.
Yeah, heart rate is just gonna jack, and just have to
How do you find the run after it? Do you find the run after it okay, or?
Yeah. Really, I always slow down.
Yeah. Okay, next one is, I know you've done doubles with a few partners, but if there was anyone in the world, dead, alive, famous, athlete, not athlete, is there anyone you would choose to do a doubles Hyrox with?
You know what? I think because of my mum's background, I would to not do it with her now, but to do it with her when she was I'm 37. Like, if she was 37 and I was there, to do it with the 37-year-old version of my mum.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Like, she's got to have some engine.
Yeah, because she was such a strong runner. Obviously I'd have to teach her how to do the other bits and bobs. I don't think she never really did the weightlifting, but yeah, I think that would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Like that. You could do a family relay as well, couldn't you? If you got your dad involved. And you
37-year-old. He wasn't the runner. He was like a track cyclist.
Like, he'd have some power though. Bloody hell, put him on the sleds.
He'd man those sleds. And the rowing machine and the ski.
Yeah,
beast for sure.
Love it. Okay, next one is, do you fuel for Hyrox during the race, and if so, what do you have and when do you have it?
So I tend to not fuel during. Sometimes I might have sometimes I will have a gel with me, but usually I'll just make sure that I drink carb drink before. Okay. So like Lucozade, or like I've had Builder a few times, which actually I think is quite good. That's Hunter McIntyre's drink.
Yeah.
BCAAs and stuff, or just some sort of carb sachet. Actually, can I show you one that I've got?
Yeah. Oh, the Morton. Yeah, I haven't tried the drink mix. We tried their gels, and the consistency of their gels, I really struggled with it. Like,
really,
but the drink mix.
I actually tried the SIS gel.
Yeah,
last one, and that was good because that's just like a jelly, like an actual like cube of jelly, which I thought was quite easy.
Oh, cool.
On. Yeah, but the Morton carb mix is meant to be quite good, I think. Quite a few.
Yeah, these are really good because apparently there's like no nasties in them. They're just really, really natural and really good for your gut.
It's quite high in carbs, is it as well? How much is there? Like 120 grams or something?
Yeah. What's this one? This is 42 grams per 100. So per serving, this has got 33 grams in.
33 grams, yeah, fair.
Hang on, yeah.
I mean, decent. Yeah.
There's quite a few. There's a lot of runners as well using Morton now.
Yeah.
It's getting quite big, and I think one of the Ironmans we did, it was sponsored by Morton. That was in the first time, and they were giving it out, and they're obviously breaking into the endurance.
Yeah.
World, so. I guess it's a good thing, like, to try different things. Like you said, you tried the Cis gel, you tried Morton.
Yeah, and you heard of the bicarbonate of soda something?
Yeah, I have
recently heard of it, so I don't really know. But apparently that's something to do with your lactic acid.
It helps, like it's almost like what is it? What what do we take as we take creatine and beta-alanine. It's a bit like beta-alanine. It does a similar
Right,
thing.
is it?
Apparently, but more natural. Like apparently that's what bicarbonate of soda does.
Yeah.
I think you know nutrition, you know Daryl, the nutrition guy Daryl or something, and he started doing some kind of little reels about stuff. He did something on bicarbonate of soda as well, I think.
Okay, I'll ask him about it.
Yeah, ask him.
Yeah.
Ask
Then
him.
I
He definitely
heard
did
if you
something
take
about
you can really shit your pants on it though. So you
it. Oh
have to
right,
be
okay.
careful.
Maybe everyone doesn't take that before Hyrox.
No,
You might have just given some dodgy advice there.
Well, you remember, did you ever do that science project where you put the bicarbonate of soda in the
And it
volcano?
goes,
Yeah. I think that's
Oh god. Okay, don't take any top tips here for pre-race fueling.
We'll speak to Daryl first and we'll get back to you.
let's fact check before
Yeah.
anything about bicarbonate.
God, the next few races are going to be interesting. As long as like no one from the Elite 15's listening for Hong Kong next week.
Or anyone for that matter.
Yeah, anyone. Yeah, definitely. God.
God.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Let's go to the next question.
Fueling. Next one is, what's your favorite type of Hyrox training session or training session for Hyrox? Like style, long run, EMOM, that kind of.
I actually just like a kind of like a simulation vibe. So
Okay,
it might be but like a mix of, you know, like maybe it's like ski into a station's run into something, but like I think because I'm good at that steady state with like just aerobic, I enjoy that.
The grind, like keeping going, like moving from one thing to the next and just keeping it going for like 40, 50 minutes.
Not a full simulator, obviously not doing that all the time, but yeah, I like my kind of like, longer conditioning, steady state, like sim kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Workout, nice. Like sweat. I think probably because that kind of simulates like a Barry's class. And kind of thing is I've always done it, so I'm just more conditioned to it. I do like the more anaerobic stuff because it is real mindset where you're really pushing it, but they're hard. And I struggle sometimes to do that kind of session on my own.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I think sometimes for those you have to be in the right headspace going into it as well, don't you? Like sometimes I feel like a more grindy like simulation kind of you'll usually feel good whatever, whereas sometimes some of the more harder like intervals you have to be in the right mindset to then get through the session to then make you happy. Otherwise you end up being in the wrong mindset, you don't hit the session and then you're just more pissed off.
Yeah, and also like I find those sessions are more pain cavey. Like really it hurts, so I'm more likely to quit. That halfway through I'll make a fucking excuse in my head, and if no one's with me I'm like, I'm done, and I'll do rounds or something.
I bet there's so many people that do that though. There's so many. Everyone's been there. Like I think it would be hard to find someone that hasn't got to that point, and if they're not with anyone else, they're like.
I think that's why training with people is really good, to find like a training something. There's a class down, or it's not even a class, it's just a session at Slevin on Thursdays at 2 p.m. That's for like industry people, so like coaches or like athletes, whatever. And it's called Boring Cardio Club, but usually it's some sort of like, sometimes it will be like steady state and slower, like, but usually it's some sort of grotesque anaerobic session, and it's like you need to be with your people, like dirty music on, and you just go
just grind it out. And I think sometimes when you're in that situation where everybody else is suffering and everyone else is still going, you're like, well, everybody, it's a bit like a Hyrox, isn't it? Like everyone's suffering, so you're like, well, no one feels great, so I just keep going.
We're in it together.
Perfect.
Okay, next one is, we've got two more. Why, in a nutshell, should someone sign up for their first Hyrox?
Why should they sign up for their first Hyrox? Because anybody can do it. I think, like, yeah, I think it gives somebody something to work towards. It's so accessible. Anybody, if you can move your body, and even, you've got people going around in wheelchairs. You've got people like with disabilities. You've got people that are 80. You've got they've got the kids doing it now. Like, everybody can do a Hyrox. So I think, like, yeah, I think that's why you should do it.
Yeah,
Agreed. There's no excuse, basically.
Because
yeah,
you can. The community, it's fun. Like, why would you not?
yeah, good answer. Good answer.
Because you can move your body, do it.
100%. And lastly, is there anyone that you would like to see on our podcast that you would like us to interview? Either a specific person or a type of person in the Hyrox world, or anyone that you want to hear a bit more background on?
I didn't actually think about this.
Put you on the spot now.
Yeah. Who would I want to see? I would want to see like more, like, how you're saying you got the gran on.
Badass gran. Yeah.
I want to see people who would inspire their kind of demographic, who maybe are the more unlikely athletes. So we can all sit and like listen to it, like all these great athletes and people that are really capable and coaches, but actually the ones that maybe does have a disability, or they are a bit older, or they've had to go through some sort of adversity, and
they're always incredible. Talking to people like that is always like incredible to hear, like how they got into it and what they've done and their experiences.
That is inspiring to see somebody who, because then you think, well, if they can do it, I can do it. They're the real inspiration people.
Yeah, there was a I really want to try and get hold of them. Actually, I was gonna try and find them. There was a couple that just did the female doubles in Dublin, and I think they were 70 and 72 or something. And they like just finished the wall balls, and Geddy Foster was like, "Yeah, you can go, you can cross the finish line," and they're like, "Yeah." It's, oh my god, I was like, what legends. I was like, they would be so good to get on, but then they're harder to find because they don't all have Instagram profiles.
Oh, I know.
Like the badass gram was actually, she's all over it, but
yeah,
you're like, how do you get hold? And then you've got to try and set up the technology to speak to people, and sometimes it isn't the easiest. But if they're listening, or anyone knows who they are, like, give us a shout.
Maybe you should get people to nominate.
I know.
If you're listening and you think that there's somebody really inspirational, like, nominate them.
Reach out to us and let us know. And some people have been really good at that, actually, and then put us in touch with people, which has been great. So it's just getting people to come to us a little bit, hopefully, and share their story, which is always cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much that was an incredible chat. And I think hopefully it's inspired a lot of people to think, people might be going through a tough time right now, and hearing your story and hearing how Hyrox like helped you in a way to get through like some tough times, and hopefully it's inspired them to have something to work towards, or think that maybe their next Hyrox race, whether they feel prepared or underprepared, that maybe just to go and give it a go and being in that community might help them out. So thanks for sharing that, because I'm sure that was pretty hard to share.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've really liked talking to you. And actually, I just love talking about Hyrox. I'm sure you do as well. I just love chatting about it.
It's a good topic. We love doing these episodes. And where can people find you, or which Barry's studio should they go to if they want to try a Barry's class?
At the moment, I'm just teaching at Soho in the lift room on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, but you can catch my one red room class on Saturdays at East.
Okay.
Just check the schedule. There's always covers and stuff. And then I do PT and I do online coaching as well. So if you are training for Hyrox or you're thinking about it, like I can help you get ready for it. And then you can find me on my Instagram, Naomi_Hef.
Perfect. Yeah, so people can reach out to you for coaching if you've got coaching spots available right now. So if someone wanted to reach out, they can.
Yeah. The online coaching is something that I've recently relaunched last month. So that's kind of my main focus. I do have some one-to-one PT spots, but
mainly online. And online's great, isn't it? Because people aren't always based in London where you're based. So it gives people the opportunity to link with you and get training from you on, anywhere in the world, which is ace.
Exactly. And then my dream, one of my goals is to do a retreat. So I'm thinking next year and making it like a Hyrox focus.
Oh, yes.
Perfect. With a bit of yoga in there as well, like to start the day.
There will be some mindset stuff for sure, like definitely. So very 360. And that's actually the way that I coach people anyway. It's not just physical. So we do look at other aspects and like daily practices and stuff.
Oh,
amazing.
Nice. Well, if you don't already, give Naomi a follow and watch this space for a potential Hyrox retreat coming. And thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you all on the next episode.
Bye.